During this video about Adobe Experience Design, we will see how to import files with formats other than XD, and we will focus mainly on vector graphics. As we saw on previous videos, vector graphics can be enlarged countless times without ever losing quality. And we know that in Adobe XD, we have some vector tools. We also know that there are other Adobe's programs that use vector graphics. For example, Adobe Illustrator is probably the most famous Adobe's program with vector tools, but also on Adobe Photoshop or InDesign, we can use vector tools, and also in other Adobe's programs. There are also other programs not in Adobe's family. For example, there are some video editing programs which use vector tools. So, if we click from the workspace on Adobe XD on File, and then we click on Import, we can see what kind of formats we can open on Adobe Experience Design. We can open SVG files, TXT files, PSD and AI files, which refer to Photoshop and Illustrator files, GIF files, JPG, JPEG, and PNG files, which refer to the most common formats for images, TEFF files, BMP, MP4, and JSON files. So, what we are going to do now is go on Google and search, for example, for AI free download vector. And from here, you can choose to do a website research or an image research. And as you can see from here, you have countless options, because with vector graphics, you can create icons, infographics, you can really create a lot of things, a lot of files, a lot of images. And we will choose now a file, for example, this WhatsApp icon logo vector, and we can click on the website, and we can see that the format is AI, so it is an Adobe Illustrator format, and the most common formats for vector graphics are, of course, AI, but also EPS and SVG. So, before we download this file, I'm gonna warn you about being careful, because sometimes you can use a file also for commercial purposes, but sometimes you cannot. If you see a file with a CC0 license, so with a Creative Commons 0 license, it will mean that you can use this file also for commercial purposes. If you see a license Creative Commons followed by a number, for example, a CC4 file, it will mean that there's a license that you have to read, and if you want to use the file, you will have to follow the rules from the license, and probably it's usually that you have to put the name of the artist of who made the file onto your work. And last, if there's a file with a copyright, all rights reserved, it will mean that you cannot use this file for commercial purposes, and it's always better not to download this kind of files. So, we can now click on Download Vector. We can close these bands, and now it will probably download a zip file. So, we can click on it. As we saw on previous videos, we can click on it with the right side of our mouse and then click on Extract in a specific folder. So we will extract it on our folder, and then we are going to go back to XD. There are two main ways in which we can import the files on Adobe XD, but the first way, which is also the more simple way not always works. So the first way is opening your folder and press and drag the file onto the workspace. As you can see from the icon that has appeared on the file, we cannot do that with this file. So we can click on File and then on Import, and then we can click on our file and click on Import. It also has created two artboards, so we can click on them and erase them by clicking on our keyboard on Ctrl X. The artboard and this icon were probably grouped, so we can select our vector graphic. We can select in three main ways. We can click and drag from left to right or from right to left, or we can click one element at a time by clicking on the first element and then clicking on Shift on your keyboard, and it will select more elements at once. So we can click on them, move them, and then erase this artboard. So we will now move our vector element and we will come closer, and then we will create an artboard by clicking on this icon, or you can also click on your keyboard to the letter A. And we can create our artboard and we can use the smart guides to align it. So we can select our elements, and also we can open the layout grid to help us put this element in a more precise way into the artboard. So we can now close the layout grid once we are happy with our work. And now by clicking on the layers and clicking on this artboard onto this icon on the left side of the name 2 times, and we can come closer. So when we do click, we can also see the elements of our vector graphic. So we can also group these elements by selecting them and click on Add. And you can also close the responsive design if it does this change of color. But you can also, since these are vector elements, click, for example, on this logo, and then clicking on the color, it has created a linear gradient. You can also go to solid color and then change the color as you please. So, before continuing with the tutorial, I will explain to you what vector graphics consists of. In fact, it's based on two main elements. The first one is the vector, which is the line that makes up the shape, and the other one are the vertices, which are the points that identify the vector. And on this structure of vectors and vertices, usually something graphics is applied. Usually it is a fill of color or an outline. So now we will go back on Google and download another vector graphic from this site, which is Vect Easy. And from this site, you have countless options on the vectors, but also you can download photos and videos. You can search what kind of graphic you want, and you can also add some filters. For example, on the license type, we are going to click on free license so that we can download for free the files. And we can try to download this vector. And as you can see, you can download it for free, but the attribution is required. So if you are going to use this graphic vector for a commercial purpose, you will have to attribute the work to the author, which is, in this case, Dwg To Svg. So when you download the file, you will see that it will also download the license of the file. So it is a zip file, and as you can see, we have the EPS file, which is one of the three main formats for vector graphics, which are EPS, AI, and SVG. It had also downloaded a JPEG file, so an image of this vector, and the Vecteezy license. In fact, if you click on it, you can see the license and how you can use this file without, let's say, breaking any rules. So we can go onto the zip and you can click with the right side of your mouse and click on extract in a specific folder, and you will extract it on your folder. And then you can see and go to Adobe XD, go to Files to import, and you will see that you cannot import an EPS file on Adobe XD. So in this case, what you are going to do is to search on the internet, for example, for Cloud Convert, and then click on Cloud Convert, select Convert to SVG, in this case EPS to SVG. So you can search for your file on your folder, and then you can convert your file. You can click on Convert, and also when you convert a file from Cloud Convert, before you download it, it will give you a preview. So you can now download it, and you can go to Adobe XD. Before you import the file, you can go to the downloads and click on your file, click on Ctrl+C, so that you can paste it on your folder. So we can search for our folder and then click on Ctrl+V. So now we can go to File, go to Import, and then open our file. So we can do a zoom out, and as we can see, we have a lot of layers. In fact, if we do a zoom, we can see, for example, that when I hide the layers, we can see that this computer is made with different objects in it. So we can now download a file which is with the format DWG or DXF. This format is the common format used in programs as AutoCAD. AutoCAD is a program for architecture projects, and CAD stands for Computer Aided Design. So you can search on Google, for example, for DWG DXF AutoCAD screen, and you can see that you have a lot of websites. The most famous one is, of course, Artweb. In fact, from this site, you can download a lot of files, you have a lot of options. In fact, as we can see, we have an article about this roof garden and also some CAD blocks in WG files that we can download. I will import a file, a DWG file that's already in my computer, but you can also download a file from ArcWeb. So I will click on File, on Import, and I will see if I can import a DWG file. I cannot, so I will go to Cloud Convert, and now I will click on Dwg to Svg. I will click on Add More File, and then I will click on my DWG file, click on Open, and then click on Convert. So I will have a preview of my file, and now I will click on Download. So I can now go to XD. I will go from the Download folder, click on Ctrl+C, and then click on Ctrl+V to have my file in my folder, and then I can go to File, Import, and import my SVG file. So we can zoom in, and now I have my file. And as I can see, we have different elements, and we can, for example, we don't want this text, and we will have to click on it to erase it. So we can go to the elements and erase them. By clicking on Ctrl X. So now we will download a 3D model. So we can go to, for example, this website. So we can search for tanks on Google. So you can go to tanks and, for example, search for chairs. And if you click on search, you will have access to all of the 3D models about chairs. Also, another website to download 3D models is Sketchfab. And if you go to sketchfab.com, you can see, for example, searching for computers, that you will have a lot of 3D models. Some of them you'll have to pay to download them. Some of them you don't have to pay, but you also have to stay careful always about the licenses. And you also can move this model and see it from different angles. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, and study this 3D model. So you can also download it. One of the most used programs about 3D modeling is Rhinoceros, and about Rhinoceros and about Photoshop and about also AutoCAD, we have the tutorials in our channel. So if you're interested in learning about these programs, you can see and watch the tutorials in our channel. So we are going to go back to XD, and the last thing we are going to do is to import a file, the same file, but in different formats. So I have an image that I have edited in Adobe Photoshop, and I will import this image in a PSD format. So in an Adobe Photoshop format, I will import it as a PNG. So in a format for images that has the alpha channels to recognize the background, the transparent backgrounds, because this file has a transparent background, and also I will import for the same file a format JPEG. So this format doesn't have the alpha channel, and as you will see, it doesn't recognize the transparent background. So you can go to import and you can go to the PSD file and you can click on import, and as you can see, when I import the PSD file, it also imports its level, so we can hide them, and we can also, for example, change the text, move the elements, and when we import the same file in a PNG format, you can see that we have the same file, but it doesn't have any levels, and so we cannot do much editing, but you can see that it doesn't have a background. It is just a transparent background, but when I import the same file in a JPEG format, you can see that it doesn't recognize the transparent background, and also I don't have any levels. So this is the main difference between these three formats. So also, if you want to download other files to do these experiments or to use them to create your projects, you can go to File and get the UI kits as we did in previous videos, and also go to the Creative Commons libraries. So you'll have to have for this an Adobe Creative Cloud account and also your internet connection on, but you can also have access to these libraries. And this is all for this video. Thank you for watching this Adobe XD tutorial. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments of this video, of other videos if you want. And I will see you in the next video about Adobe Experience Design. Thank you again.